Good evening, everybody. I'm Mark.
And I'm Britton.
And today we're gonna talk about a movie, don't you know?
A stinky movie.
A movie that was not very good indeed, called 2067. And, okay, yeah, no, let's just get started.
So, the premise of this movie is that in the not-too-distant future...
Next Sunday AD?
No. It is oxygen... well, the environment has kind of crashed.
Yes.
And oxygen... all plants have died, and oxygen is at a premium. It's kind of like Dune with air.
Actually, I remember we were watching this, and I likened it more to Tank Girl with air, because one corporation controls all the...
All right. I could appreciate that.
So go ahead.
So, the society is slowly dying and suffocating away, and humanity is slowly becoming extinct. So, our main character, Ethan, who is
just wrong.
He was built in a wrong way. His face was not made by nature.
Well, that's not very nice.
And so he's working in the tunnels, fixing electronics and stuff like that. And he gets called, these kind of government officials apprehend him and bring him to the office of some powerful lady.
Mm-hmm. We don't know if she's like the prime minister or just like maybe the CEO of the business. We don't know.
Like from what I can ascertain is like she's mainly the main person who's making all the oxygen for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So she tells them, she kind of guides them to this secret lab, and there's a time machine, and they get a message from the future saying, send Ethan White, who is our main character.
Mr. Wrong, yeah.
Yeah. And the character of Ethan White throughout the entirety of this movie is the most insufferable, whiny little shit.
Yes.
He has Anakin Skywalker syndrome, where he is so in love with his wife that it is it's
almost toxic.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to go with the future at first, and then she kind of convinces him.
We'll get into the nitty gritty of that in a second. We'll just move things back along. Like the first act, he goes forward into the future 400 years to look for a cure because humanity is like suffering from this disease, as well as no plants.
Yeah.
And so he goes forward into the future. It's like a plant paradise, and he encounters the skeleton of himself with a bullet in his head. Yeah,
we don't really understand how. It's not really stated how he. We don't really know how his skeleton dies. And ends up there before he does.
Well, I mean...
I guess presumably he goes back in time.
Yeah, exactly. Presumably when his mission's complete, he goes back, because it's supposed to be a one-way time machine, but he has to find his way back.
Yeah.
And we assume that he dies. And he has a little handheld recorder that says that, okay, you get shot in the head by this person, by your best friend, who just so happens to travel through time to...
Well, before we get there...
Okay.
Let's talk about the reason the friend had to go through time.
Okay.
Like, within hours of him arriving to the future, he finds random berries and just decides to eat them. And nearly dies. Yeah,
that's basically it. He starts vomiting, starts hallucinating, and his friend comes back with like an antitoxin, and saves his life. And
he's like, yeah, I saw you die. You died.
Yeah, like that. So don't do anything stupid. I guess I'm gonna have to protect you. By the way, I brought a gun to protect you.
Yeah.
And yeah, so basically the rest of the movie is him like meandering around. They find this building where like basically it's like everything's overgrown, no humans are left, and the building is a like
derelict.
Yeah, and it's the same building that he went forward with in the time with the time machine. So basically he's got to repair the power,
like a nuclear reactor.
And once the power comes back on, the portal will be open so he can go back and people can come forward.
And if he doesn't fix the nuke in time, it'll explode like a nuclear bomb.
Mm-hmm.
And they shuffle their feet the entire way through the city. Like they were taking the tiniest little baby steps with this looming threat of a nuclear explosion over their heads.
And it's almost like Ethan isn't aware of how time works, because he arrives at like this schoolyard where his wife teaches, and he finds the skeleton of his wife dead, and he's like, oh, she's dead. And it's like, well, yeah, everybody's dead, Ethan, what do you expect?
Like, if you had not gone back in time, you'd be dead too. In fact, you are dead. You saw your corpse.
Like, everybody is dead at this point.
Like what'd you expect her to be? Not dead in 400 years?
It's like, so it all boils down, like some twists and turns happen, and we find out that
well, not just that. Well, yeah, some twists and turns happen, as you said, and go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, twists and turn happen. We find out that the whole project was designed by the woman who was in charge of the air. She gave up on the human race, and so she wants to open the portal in the future so that she can bring the elites forward and just kind of restart the human race.
Yeah. Well, before that, while dipshit Magoo is having his breakdown about his wife, he plays the recording of his death, and it turns out the friend that came back is the one who killed him, and with the without like the friend that came back went from zero to pointing the gun at his friend who was pretty much his son throughout the most of his adult life. Instantly.
Yeah, it's like this guy was just unhinged, and we do find out through a little bit of the reveals that his friend, Ethan's friend, was kind of like a bit of a plant. Yeah. Like, they knew early on that he was supposed to go through time because of the message from the future. Yeah. They knew since he was a kid, but his father installed this little security bracelet so only Ethan could be the one to, like, activate the time machine. And so it's basically, like, everything's going on in a loop again and again and again and again. Mm-hmm. So that is the basic gist of the story. And, well, I gotta say that this wasn't a very good movie. It wasn't terrible, but I've seen worse. Yeah,
we've definitely encountered far worse than that. But yeah, it was a bit of a letdown, especially the characters.
Oh, the characters.
Like, I thought the lady CEO was a bit on the right track. That humanity is not going to survive that, and it's. The writing's on the wall. We might as well start sending through infrastructure to start over again.
Yeah, and our hero Ethan, he tries to sabotage it at every step, and it's like, listen, we find out that the CEO lady, she's not the nicest person in the entire world. She's kind of cold-hearted and a little bit evil. Just a little bit. I mean, she does murder people. Yeah. But at the same time, you can weigh that with the fact that, all right, but, all of humanity is, she's trying to save basically the human race. And Ethan is doing his damnedest to make sure that our species is wiped out of existence.
Yeah. Like, the movie concludes with, instead of Ethan going back in time and getting shot, he instead stuffs the time machine full of plants and sends that back instead, and then breaks the machine, and then the movie concludes like, oh, all these rare and exotic extinct plants are being brought back, and then the movie concludes that society had indeed rebuilt in the past with with harmony with nature, and which is a bit of a bullshit ending.
Yeah.
Considering that not all the plants died because the environment was toxic to begin with.
Yeah, it couldn't sustain plant life. So I guess they saw it's a miracle these plants didn't just instantly wilt the flower in E.T. As soon as it goes through, it just droops. Like, why did he send a bunch of weeds back? Guess it doesn't matter now.
And it's in a realistic ending would have been that, all right, the CEO is right. You gotta send people back through and kind of rebuild things and do things right this time.
See,
I do wonder if that was a studio change.
It's
like an executive.
It's a very good question because, it did look like it was gonna go with the whole, everything's bleak, nothing matters, you can't change anything. And then at the very last minute, they just reversed the, course. They're like, maybe you can. Who knows?
Well, I'm kind of glad that they did that, because otherwise the movie would have been predictable.
Pointless.
Yeah, we would have already known the ending.
So, there is a couple things I do want to bring up which I find very interesting about this movie, and it deals more with the silly nature of the time travel, I guess, setting.
Yeah.
So, the first one, I know I mentioned this a lot while we were watching it, is our character, Ethan, he has this kind of wrist bracelet on that his father tricked him to put on, and it's basically the only thing that can activate the machine in the future.
Yeah.
So, when he discovers the skeleton of himself, he sees the wrist brace, and he takes it off his corpse and puts it in his pocket.
Yeah.
So I was saying while we were doing this, I was like, well, if he searches his pocket of the corpse now, shouldn't that wrist brace also be in there?
Technically, if he goes back in time with it, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, then I would have just reached into the pocket, taken out that other wrist brace, put it in another pocket, and just kept on doing that until my pockets were just full of wrist braces. I don't know what I'm going to do with them.
Yeah, I was going to say, why?
I don't know. I think it's fun. I have an infinite amount of wrist braces.
I guess. They would be millennia old after a while.
Yeah, they start crumbling away. But, no, you can make a little...
you can make a fort out of them.
Yeah, make a little house out of the wrist braces.
Here's the question. Had Ethan not eaten the berries, what are the other ways Ethan would have died, do you think?
Let's see. I think
I had mentioned, drowning by staring up during a rainstorm.
Yeah, I think one of the things I posited was that he finds, because the idea that we had was that he just keeps on finding corpses of Ethans everywhere.
Yeah,
he tried and failed many a time to do this time travel thing, as he's just not a good hero.
Which would have been a more interesting story.
I would have loved it. I'm going to get into that in a second, because I do want to talk about that a little bit. But one of the ideas I posited was that he stumbles upon two skeletons of himself, two Ethans strangling each other. That I guess that two of them found each other and just decided to duke it out and fight, and they were equally matched.
Yeah, one died with his head in the toilet.
Yeah. I wanted to, again, how I would have done a second, or maybe even a third act is he finds the first skeleton, and then he goes in and he finds another skeleton, then more skeletons of Ethan's. I guess we're gonna get into how we would change the movie now.
Yeah.
But then I would have had a camp of Ethans. He stumbles into an all-Ethan camp where they're at war with another Ethan camp, and they have prisoner Ethans in their camp. They're just all various Ethans from different, the entire planet is populated by tribes of Ethans. I think that would be my third act thing. That would be, it's more intrigue in the second act where he's finding a bunch of this stuff. Heck, even maybe halfway through the second act, he stumbles into these different Ethan tribes, and then he goes out and he has to go to war with one Ethan tribe over another Ethan tribe.
Mine would be just a series of skeletons.
Just the skeletons?
Just the skeletons, because Ethan was clumsy enough to die within hours of every instance, and pretty much every point of the multiverse kind of converges on this one point in order to save humanity. So there's all kinds of Ethans. There's this skeleton of Squid Ethan. There's just old Ethan. There's Ethan frozen in a glacier.
There's Ethan Rex.
Yeah, there's just a variety of Ethans just because there's so much time travel and time converges on this one point that reality has become malleable.
I think I know how I would end my version of the movie, the Planet of the Ethans, where the tribes go to war, and in the middle of this war, he breaks out. And again, it's Ethan against Ethan. They all have different looks to them, they're more feral. Some of them are, but some of them are also
one's missing an eye. There's they're covered in scars and tattoos.
It's you don't know, they're just a whole variety. Every Ethan you can think of, that's what we have for the Ethan. And he gets away. And he finally, finds his way on his own. And he travels along the coast, and we have Statue of Liberty Ethan, in the thing, and it's just like a breakdown for him.
He just has the biggest temper tantrum yet.
No! No!
Mine would be he falls into a tar pit. and it's not even an original. It's not even an original death. There's 5 other Ethans with their legs sticking out. And
then the last shot of that movie is you see a fire across the sky, and then the next Ethan is coming.
Yeah.
And it lands in the little pod or suit that they have, and gets out, and it's a let's see, what kind of Ethan can it be? Maybe I don't want to say an ape Ethan. That's too easy. But maybe it's a bird Ethan.
Yeah. So, some kind of Ethan, and it turns out that the corpses of all these trillions of Ethans refertilize the soil and allow Earth to grow plants anew.
Okay, I'm going to take your idea and I'm going to tweak it a little bit.
All right.
So, I want there to be... I don't want him to ever find, really, a lot of Ethans that are exactly like him.
All right.
I want there to be just slight variations until we start getting to more obscure ones.
So it becomes more. There are more and more mutations.
Almost, and we learn that it is basically this is a convergence point of the entire multiverse, and the Ethan that basically accomplished the mission, the Ethan that saves the day, is the Ethan that gets to exist in reality. So if Squid Ethan wins, all of reality would just be the Squid Ethan version.
So it's almost like a Hunger Games type thing.
Like a race against time almost thing, and our human Ethan fails, so the next one comes out, and it's, well, good luck to you, robot Ethan.
Oh yeah, then human Ethan would be no contest.
Yeah,
he'd be torn to shreds.
Yeah, I mean,
he's a little wiener.
Well, it's one Ethan at a time.
Or is it just is humanity just so it's not they're not battling each other for supremacy. It's just whenever one Ethan fails, another species of Ethan comes and gives it a go.
Exactly. And the species that ends up succeeding is going to be the one that gets to continue living.
All right, it's Cronenberg Ethan. That probably does it.
It's giant cockroach Ethan. And for some reason, actually I don't know why I think of it like this, but giant cockroach Ethan is, well, just a giant cockroach, but he's wearing a fedora. I think,
like Joe's apartment?
Yeah, something like that. That's the giant cockroach I see.
All right. Well, it makes sense. If the reactor does go off, he would survive.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, that's how I would either do the Planet of the Ethans or basically the amazing race for Ethan. The right Ethan gets to win and gets to set the tone for the rest of reality for what is a superior Ethan race.
And I want to throw a Terminator or two in there. Since there's time travel, you might as well have, a Terminator going into the, for once a Terminator going forward in time, and trying to kill humanity's savior.
That's actually an interesting angle because there's no Terminators in the other ones, but human Ethan comes forward, and then the Terminator kind of appears almost instantly, because if the human Ethan wins, it actually spells doom for the planet. Like if Cthulhu Ethan won, like the planet would actually flourish. It would thrive.
So human Ethan, so the future of human Ethan eventually has a rise of the machines, and they go back to kill Ethan.
Yeah, because this Ethan just can't win.
Well, no, it would be more of a Kyle Reese type character, like who goes like Kyle Reese goes back in time to kill Ethan, and the Terminator has to protect him.
That's interesting. Now
that would mean the robots don't rise.
Yeah, exactly. So the robots are trying to protect the John Connor of this, or the Ethan White, and the human is trying to kill it to basically wipe humans off the reality. And
humans in the future are really hardy, and the robots are really kind of shittery. They're kind of shitty in the future. They're like.
Well,
because a Terminator against Kyle Reese, it's no.
Well, actually, there's no weapons here. Let's not forget that they can't bring any weapons. So even though the Terminator still has the advantage of being made of metal, I think Kyle Reese also has like this advantage of almost like the Predator, where he can set traps for the robot and everything like that.
I guess. Like I still think these two naked men in the wild is just gonna be no match. Like it's literally a robot who can just crush his skull.
I guess that's true, but you see, I don't want to weaken the Terminator to make the threat of Kyle Reese to make that seem like I want to actually increase the threat of Kyle Reese to make make him seem more intimidating.
So they have a lot of bionic enhancements in the future, maybe.
I kind of like they had in the Dark Fate of Terminator. Like I just want him to be the most imposing. Like they send two Terminators and one Kyle Reese. So the two Terminators, like it's the T-1000 and the T-800 Terminator. Yeah, they're both trying to protect Ethan.
Yeah.
And Kyle Reese comes and strangles the T-1000 to death. That's how powerful of a human he is.
I think I have it.
Oh, go ahead.
So, humanity in that far future, they don't have strength. They don't get stronger or anything, but they have psychic powers. Like, Kyle Reese, this future Kyle Reese can come back. Like, he comes back in time. Searching for Ethan, and just like flattens the forest with his powers.
That's interesting, because I was going like a Morlock thing, but a psychic Kyle Reese going against the Terminator.
Yeah, like if the Terminators can resist it, the telekinesis a little bit, long enough to get away. But if he catches them, he can crush them.
And not just that, but yeah, the Terminator might be able to resist it if it forces all of its will to to run away, but nothing's gonna stop a giant tree being shoved at it.
Yeah, like it's like this is humanity. They through whatever means, genetic engineering, bionic enhancements, whatever, has created this person who can. Be just a monster.
Now, does he have like a giant like cranium
no.
that throbs every time it like crushes things?
No, I kind of envisioned like he looked to me. He kind of looked like Dr. Manhattan, but not blue.
Okay, so he just comes out and just. So now here's a question: How does both Ethan and the Terminator? Like, now how can they stop this Kyle Reese?
That's tough, because in my head, he can also predict the future. Which just like he has perfect predictability, so he knows what's going to happen before it happens. Which
the big theme of this movie was about changing fate and history and everything like that. So they'll have to. It could still be the theme of this movie where he has to do something completely unexpected to
fool Kyle Reese.
Yeah. Now, and I'm not talking about him running out and dancing like a chicken, because that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Oh, buck, buck, buck. And that was him just crushing him.
It has to be something like out of Bill and Ted when they have the buckets on their head.
Yeah. So we know that the Terminator is going to probably die at the end of this, sacrifice himself in a way.
I'm sure the Arnold Terminator is just going to use that hydrogen bomb that's in his chest.
But I imagine that the
psychic blocks it. He just puts up a psychic wall.
Oh, I actually thought that the Kyle Reese was nowhere near the nuclear blast. He was miles and miles away. It was just a straw dummy that the Terminator got fooled by.
What, he pulls a Luke Skywalker?
Yeah. And because he's got that perfect psychic thing, so he just projects himself.
I kind of figured that he blows up, but he kind of contains the explosion in this little sphere, and the Terminator just kind of poofs in this contained fireball.
I imagine that he takes this contained fireball and just hurtles it into the sun.
Yeah. Wow. He's strong.
I mean, we're making this guy basically the most insane Superman, kind of.
How the machines uprise? I imagine it's kind of the opposite, where these machines are kind of on the in the underground, and there's these just floating rows of psychics traveling about the land, just crushing them. The machines
rose and they killed the Ethan type humans.
Yeah.
And then in the ashes of the machine war rose these psychics, and now the machines are scared of them.
Yeah. There was some underground resistance that managed to make these superhumans, and it's just been genocide of these robots.
It was almost a mistake for the humans to make these, because
they killed off the normal humans.
Yeah.
They did that. They had the almost a Skynet-like calculation that within a second that if they didn't kill off these humans, the bloodline would not be pure.
Yeah, exactly. We are the perfect version of you. There is no need for you anymore.
And they just crush their hearts.
Yeah, and I imagine that now here's what I imagine. I don't know what you imagine, but when the psychics are roving about, in the streets and everything that, and the machines are hiding in the sewers and looking out, I imagine the psychics are just kind of
standing and floating.
Yeah, just kind of standing and floating around.
Yeah, that's exactly what was in my mind.
So now it just begs the question: how the hell are they gonna beat this Kyle Reese?
It's tough.
I don't know if we have the chops. The chops.
Because he can destroy these robots easily, better than a robot, easier than a robot can kill a person. He has visions of the future.
I think I got
All right.
it. He blocks his actions and visions of the future by wearing Ethan, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
By wearing a tinfoil hat.
It turns out it was the real.
Yeah, that. that was the key.
That was the key. It works after all.
Yeah.
And
it's something so low tech and low brow that it can't figure it out.
And then he has his predator-like traps. The future. The Kyle Reese can. He predicts them, but a little bit too late, and it nicks him here and there.
Yeah.
Until he brings the big log down.
Or we could just make it that, Ethan is compared to the humans that these proto-humans or these superhumans kill, like this Ethan is so dumb and whiny that it just can't figure him out. Like, he should know. It's almost like that episode of Fringe where the guy knows, like, he puts a pen down. He knows everything in the chain of events that's but because he has no experience with a human so sub-intellectual.
A person who has no forethought in any of his actions.
Yeah, and it's somehow like he struggles with it. It's not impossible. You know, he can still have like 96% accuracy, but it's just enough to fool him.
It's like 96% accuracy is so inaccurate for him that he's scared. He is not used to a 99.99999% accuracy future, and the fact that Ethan is 4% inaccurate, it's like almost a religious fear. Like he came upon the brood of Satan himself.
It's like an existential crisis.
Yeah,
and the funny thing is, like, the more it terrifies him, like the
more inaccurate.
Yeah,
he
exactly.
becomes.
The one thing that he's supposed... Now it's just like the observers from Fringe. Like, the more he's supposed trying to suppress these emotions,
the more amplified they become.
Yeah, exactly. So that he gets a little bit... And I imagine that all these traps that Ethan sets up that do the most damage are just dumb. Like he'll set up the log, and the guy will just float out of the way, but he'll trip over like a piece of twine that he tied between two trees and just kind of stumble backwards. And every time something little like that happens, it terrifies him. It shakes him to his core.
The piece of twine was so, it's like a twine between like a 2-foot section between two trees where no one in their right mind would go. But since it's such an irrational setup, like that, he didn't even think, bother to think of that he would do that. But
and it's not. It's like it is so painfully obvious that he doesn't even think to look for it.
Yeah, and it just. And he's never known fear his life until that moment.
Like, he stumbles backwards and he scrapes his elbow on a rock, and it is a, like,
he's never seen blood.
Yeah, it is, and I'm gonna say, like, all right, this is gonna get a little weird.
All right.
Do you remember the scene in Spider-Man 3 when the Sandman is kind of born? And like he's slowly coming together, and like sometimes he crumbles apart because he's not used to it, and he's learning so many different things, and there's like a mixture of like a music swelling and also like this weird almost kind of fear and beauty intermixed in one. That is kind of, I want a full 3 or 4 minutes as he's staring at his wounds with these same kind of emotions going on, where he's both awestruck at the wonder of what he's seeing, but also completely paralyzed in the fear. He can't understand what's going on, and yet it is something he is a part of now.
Yeah, and Ethan, in his own clumsy idiot way, bests this superhuman.
And so, what's the final trap that does him in? I think I have an idea, but I want to hear yours.
It's a log. It's a log in the river that slowly rises.
No, that's funny though. I like that.
Okay.
I was gonna say, Ethan reaches into his pockets and like empties his marbles on the ground, and he just slips down the hill from the marbles and I don't know, and falls into a pit.
What? Like, because I imagine the superhuman dies in an equally stupid way that Ethan would die. So somehow he chokes on his own tongue.
The fear finally gets to him and has a heart attack.
In his terror, he eats one of the berries.
Ah, okay, I like it. it's a fear-induced hunger, something that's never really felt before, but it's becoming weak and making more and more mistakes. Like, eventually, it gets lowered to a 93% accuracy, and so it starts eating whatever it can to build its strength back up, and one of the things it eats is the berries, and it vomits. I imagine it's vomiting while floating.
And it's somehow a psychic vomit as well. Like, he vomits and then maybe a whale appears and disappears. like as he vomits, like something impossible happens. And
it's never vomited before, so it doesn't know what to.
Yeah, it doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Like it's the powers he has never encountered this action before, and it's just sputtering random synapses.
And the funny thing is, again, like, this is almost canonical because it's almost like when the T-1000 dies in Terminator 2, where it's when he's vomiting, he's trying to find a form that will get him out of the situation he's encountering, and nothing's happening.
Like he vomits and a mime appears.
The mime appears, it crosses, folds its arm, it like points to an invisible watch on his wrist and then unexists.
Yeah. Or he does the mask looking at the clock.
He pulls an alarm clock out and gets scared and then poof.
Yep. Like, one of the vomits is a rainbow, is a literal rainbow.
Now, what's Ethan doing at this moment? Is he watching it all?
He's backed up to a tree and crying.
You see, I imagine that he's not even involved in the final act or in the final confrontation. Like, he's fixing the machine and succeeding, and like, this thing is so afraid of its own shadow that it eats the berries and just dies, like, nowhere near Ethan.
I want to say Ethan ends up dead where he's destined to end up dead. Excuse me. In order for the future to progress.
I like to think that. Yes, that happens. He ends up dead, but I think the reason he dies after he does what he has to do for the future to progress, he does that, like, he fixes the machine, turns around, trips over the body of the superhuman and falls down a hill and breaks his neck, and that's where he dies.
No, he doesn't fall down a hill. He just trips. His head hits the floor and he breaks his neck. Not even his head doesn't even hit anything. It just hits the floor and he dies like a stupid.
But it was enough. It was enough to save the lineage of humanity.
Yep. That was exactly where he needed to die for his blood to pour down something and preserve the DNA and such and such and such and such, so the lineage can stay. And
meanwhile, like, in the past, like, the humans are celebrating the regular humans, and then the machines are celebrating, like, with fireworks and everything, and the superhumans aren't, though.
No, they're the ones cast underground and become the Morlocks.
They're both the Morlocks and the I forget who the other people are.
The dumb people.
No, the Morlocks are the.
I thought the dumb people were. I thought the Morlocks were a little bit smarter than the people on the surface because they were hunting the people on the surface.
Oh, I thought the Morlocks were the underground, the dumb people, the strength people.
I don't know. I don't remember.
It's been a while since I've read The Time Machine.
Yeah.
And I didn't even like it. I didn't even finish it, so.
Hey, for what it was, for like one of the first sci-fi novels,
Yeah, I guess. I've only read one thing by H.G. Wells all the way through, and it was the Martian one, War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds.
And I didn't like it. And the funny thing was, I read it right when the movie came out by Spielberg.
Ooh.
So I was like, maybe the book will explain a little bit more.
Nope.
It's just an abrupt end, just as abrupt an ending in the book as it is in the movie.
Yeah, they all get sick and die.
Like, yep, funny, isn't it? So here's Morgan Freeman. It'll be the only thing that can make this palatable.
Yeah. So all these dumb Martians who come down here from that dumb Mars planet get the cold and eventually croak.
So they don't have any inoculation against it?
You would think so, but no.
Now, the only thing I really have or of any knowledge for the Time Machine of is the late or early 2000s Time Machine movie.
Yeah, which wasn't bad. Yeah. Well, it had that. How'd you go? Like that with that funny scene that we had.
So I remember I watched. I enjoyed it. I think I was drunk at the time, but I enjoyed it for what it was. And like I remember we were talking about it together, and I remember the conversation came up that like there's really no good way to think about the time travel in this movie without it being silly. Like there's a moment where he reaches his hand out because he's in like this bubble, and he reaches his hand out of the bubble. And he brings it back in, and his fingernails are longer because time passed outside his bubble, but not inside. And I remember we were asking, like, is there just some random guy who just sees a couple of fingers floating for a couple of months in this cave?
Or another thing is does he disappear when he goes back in time, or is he just frozen?
Is he just frozen?
And is like the maid coming in and dusting him off every once in a while?
Well, I remember we were talking about like where she comes in like the day after he does it, and she just screams because he's like frozen in place. Like, oh, what'd you do? Oh no, what'd you do? And that's my Cockney British accent. Freshen your drink. I'm good. I'm bad at accents.
Yeah, and meanwhile she's chasing pigeons off him all the time.
Yeah, like after a couple of months where the shock wears off, like she's hanging laundry from him. Like, oh, master's got all dusty today, hasn't he? Then, she's like, she's like, shoo, get out of here, pigeons.
I swear they got a nest some here.
It's like she's got to clean the pigeon crap off every now and again. Oh, better keep you all spiffy now.
And from his perspective, there'd just be this Flash going around cleaning him all the time.
Again, I think the funnier idea is if he is invisible in a bubble, except when he sticks his hand out of it.
Yeah, like, just this floating hand.
And like some guy, like some scientist sees the hand, and of course does the natural thing of studying it, so it starts like clipping fingers off and everything like that, and taking it back to the lab. So he sticks his hand out, when he pulls it back, there's just a stump. Like where the fingers are like.
Well, yeah, feasibly, that's what it should have been, because there's no way the blood's circulating at the same speed. Like in the time it was he to put that hand out, like it should have died of like the same way Jeremy Irons died.
Yeah, exactly. So he just pulls it back and he's like, oh,
it's old now.
And it's like, oh, geez,
so he
doesn't work.
He goes back in time, and it goes too far, and he has a baby hand.
See, I imagine that he kind of works with the old hand that doesn't work anymore. He puts like a glove over it, kind of like Luke Skywalker. And he's just got to work with it,
And unfortunately, that hand always has arthritis pains.
Now, at that point, do you think that he would just get it removed? It's like, this is more trouble than it's worth.
Just get the hand removed?
Yeah, just like,
Was it his left or his right hand?
Well, the way I'm miming it here, it's the right hand, so that's tricky. That's tricky.
Like, that's his main hand.
But then again, like, his main hand is always in pain, and and basically agony 24/7.
Yeah, I guess what I would do is I would just kind of peruse time, see
find a better hand.
See if there's a future where they can give me a better hand.
See, my solution would actually be the worst solution, which would be, all right, well, I'll just stick my left hand out so it's even at least, so so I'm not mismatched. So I have two old hands.
It's a terrible idea.
So then I'm like, oh, I can't. Then my hands are just both dead, and I can't stop the lever. So I'm just constantly hurtling forward in time.
Oh god, all right, well, the sun's getting bigger.
I go so far forward so far in time that I accidentally miss the heat death of the universe.
You miss the heat death.
Yes, like I go further than the heat death of the universe.
What's after the heat death of the universe?
That's the good question. Like I just come out and it's like, actually, would I be afraid to like all particle motion stop? I look out, it's nothing but a blank void of nothing.
Yeah, it would be.
I don't want to stop it now. I don't know what happens.
The one of the theories is that you bring up the after heat death, and I have to talk about it.
That's why we work so well together.
And so pretty much, we're talking on time scales where you could pretty much say forever.
Yes.
50
trillion years in the future.
No, not even.
Okay.
Like we're talking, more than a Google years.
Okay.
Like
I like this. I can get behind this.
Like 50 trillion years. Like the lifespan of a red dwarf star is about 10 trillion years. So like 50 trillion years. Like there's still star life.
Okay.
We're talking in the 10 to the 10 to the 10 amount of, like a lot of years, where feasibly so much time would have passed that there would be a random fluctuation of entropy where it would just kind of reignite the universe, another big bang.
See, now that's what I think. I imagine that, in my stupid hands, my old hands, and I can't do it, like, once I reach past, that point where there's absolutely nothing, I imagine, like, me stopping the time machine in this, void of nothing is the second Big Bang. Like, it kickstarts, that is that random flux that starts things back up.
Yeah, it could be. Like, it would definitely... I don't think there would be any... I don't think... unless the properties of space change drastically... I think you would just suffocate.
Like I stop it and just that's it.
Yeah, just and then you just
restart it up,
and somehow the monolith people just find you in the distant future. Like, this man's older than the universe.
See, that's the thing. Like, I think that if if my character stopped at that random place and is like out of basically everything, like in the world beyond the universe, I imagine he would be some sort of villain for like the next universe, like some like ancient one kind of thing.
I guess, like I don't know for what he could do. He's just a average, he's just a guy in his 30s with old man hands. Like, I don't know what kind of villain he's gonna be.
See, I imagine that everything
from the Victorian era, he still uses steam power.
Everything that happens, I imagine, like when he pops forward, in that world beyond, like, let's just pretend that the energy of him stopping the time machine ignites like a second Big Bang, but it's tinier. So he is almost the size of the universe. Yeah.
Huh? Like that is interesting. Like that he pretty much runs this machine through time. It's almost like a slingshot. Like he burrowed this tunnel through time, and when he stops the machine, the tunnel collapses through trillions of years, and just with so much energy, it's like you have a pipe it's like a pipeline that's full of a vacuum, but then you open up the vacuum and just this rush of air. But it's just a rush of time, and yeah, there's your second Big Bang.
And it's like, but he is in this universe, he is massive and almost infinite.
Like there's a from their perspective, like there's a little tiny Earth. And in a faraway galaxy, there's a huge supernova, like the biggest supernova. But it's big enough to just and bright enough just to show like his eye in the background of the universe, and it just terrifies. Like it terrifies humanity.
Like I imagine that like that whole Pillars of Creation picture and everything like that. Like they find a way to expand like their kind of expand their view of it, and it's just like eyelashes on this massive and it just like what would humanity do if they saw something like that?
Probably what we always do, worship it.
That tracks.
I'm not gonna lie to you. If I saw, if the Hubble brought back images of a giant person living in the universe, I might worship it too.
A person that is almost like gargantuan size of like. You know what? I can get behind it. Like, you know what? This guy seems to know what's up.
Yeah, that's probably God. It's a fair chance that the giant man is God.
They pull it back so much they're like, why does he have old man hands though?
Well, I imagine like he is from the Victorian era. It's like, so God has mutton chops. Would have never guessed.
Listen, who are we to judge, huh?
And then everyone for the rest, through humanity has mutton chops. It's like
through the entire universe, the mutton chop is the default style.
It's almost like how Hasidic Jews have the
little curls.
The curls, yeah. I don't know what that's called, but it's a part of that culture.
Yeah. So,
but that's the new religious hairstyle,
and it's basically every living thing in the entire universe all having mutton chops.
There's beavers building dams with mutton chops. There's horses with mutton chops. And it's not because they want them. It's because humans are shaving mutton chops into these animals.
They're breeding them so that mutton chops become the default gene.
Selective breeding has made the animal kingdom just nothing. There's bacteria with mutton chops.
Like somehow there's viruses with mutton chops. That is fantastic. Okay, so on that note, 2067.
A bit of a dumb movie. A little bit of a letdown. The main character Ethan was kind of dumb and whiny, and didn't really go anywhere.
It was okay. I would say, really maybe a C- D+ movie.
I can get behind that.
And the character was really the worst part of it. And also the movie could have been half an hour shorter if they weren't taking baby steps everywhere they went.
Yeah.
But we've seen worse, so check it. Don't check it out, but just know that you could do worse than 2067.
Yeah, if you're a fan of bad movies and can kind of, make fun of it through this shit, check it out. If you can't hack bad movies, skip it.
Yeah. Alrighty, that'll be it for today.
A toodaloo.
Goodbye. That'll hold little SOBs.